All right, guys, I wanted to walk you through this math lesson. Today we're going to be looking at time. So make sure if you open up the slides that you hit present in the top corner so that you can see the slides a lot bigger. All right, so today we're going to look at time. This is going to be a review lesson. We're going to be looking back at what are the two types of clocks. We're going to look at how to read the clock by quarters, half hour, by minutes. We're going to look at how to tell the time by the minute, and we're going to look at elapsed time. All right, so to start, there are two types of clocks, analog and digital. Analog clocks are the clocks like we have in our classroom that show us 12 numbers, and they have two hands on them. Hands are those arrows that point to the numbers. So this clock is your analog clock. Digital clocks are the clocks that just tell you exactly what time it is. They only use numbers. Right in the middle of the numbers, there are these two dots to separate your hour and your minute. So both types of clocks have a face. That's what we call the front of the clock, where it tells us what time it is. That's their face. They also both tell you the hour and the minute. The difference lies in 1, how it shows it to you, and 2, how we read it. So, the analog clock has two major hands that we're going to talk about. It has the minute hand and the hour hand. Digital clocks don't have hands. They just tell us the number in hours and minutes. All right, so let's look at how to tell time on an analog clock. So, just like I said, there are two major hands on the analog clock. The hour hand tells you what hour it is, and the minute hand tells you what the minutes are. The hour hand is the smaller of the two. So the smaller hand is the hour hand. The longer hand is the minute hand. The hour hand moves slower because it only changes every hour. The minute hand moves a little faster and it changes every 60 seconds because there's 60 seconds in 1 minute. So the minute hand moves every minute. Your hour hand will slowly get closer to the next number, but it won't fall onto that next number until it gets to the 12, so that it's that hour. All right, another way to tell time on our analog clock is that all of these numbers, 1 through 12, when we're looking at the minute hand, they go up by 5. 12 is 0, 0, because that is the start of the hours. So then the 1 is 5. And you keep going around 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way around and back to 12. So if my hour hand is on 2 and my minute hand is on 8, it would be 2:40. Okay. There are these little small lines in between each one of these bigger numbers. Those are 1 minute markers. So if my clock showed me that the hour was 6 and the minute was right here at 2 notches past the hour, it would be 6:02. There are 5 minutes in between each of these numbers. Okay. All right, so just like we said there was 60 seconds in a minute, there are 60 minutes in an hour. For every minute, the minute hand moves. The hour hand moves slower, and it gets closer to the next number as the hour gets closer to changing. So if my clock minutes were over here next to the 10 or the 5, then my hour would be closer to the next number. So if it was 5:55, my hour hand's going to be close to the 6, and my minute hand is going to be on the 11. All right, another big important thing to remember when we're looking at time is that anything in the morning is going to be labeled AM, and anything in the afternoon or the nighttime is labeled as PM. So the first 12 hours of the day from midnight until noon are AM, and then from noon until midnight are PM. All right. When we look at our clock, we can split this clock into two sections. There's past and to. And when I say past, I mean it is past the hour of 1. If I say to, then I'm meaning it is 10 minutes to the hour of 8. So it's before. Past means it just switched to that hour a little bit ago. And to means it's about to switch to the next hour. So anything that falls in this green section, if our minutes fall in the green section here from 12 to 6, that's going to be considered past. So if it is 5 minutes past 7 o'clock, we would say 7:05, or we could say 5 minutes past 7, because it just turned 7 5 minutes ago. If it was 6:20, we could say 20 minutes past 6. This just means it is after that hour has happened. Now, once it gets on this purple side of the clock, we start saying 2 because it's getting closer to changing to the next hour. So if it was 3:40, so it was 3:40, 40 falls into that purple range. So we could say, let's count how many minutes it is before the hour. So we go up by 5. So 8 is 40. So then we say 5, 10, 15, 20. So it's 20 minutes until 4. So 20 minutes to 4 is how else we could say 3:40. All right. If it lands exactly on the 0, on the 12, that means it's 2 zeros in your minute hand, which means it's o'clock. So we don't say to or past for 12. We leave it as 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock. If it lands exactly on the 6, we also don't say past or to. We just say it's half an hour past whatever time it is. So we don't really want to, you could say it's half an hour till 7. You could say it that way, but just know that 6 is halfway. It's half an hour. All right, now we're going to look at quarters. So when we look at quarters, we're splitting our clock into 4s, and we're looking at what 2 times does those quarters fall at. When we talk about a quarter in time, we mean 15 minutes. So there are 2 sections of our clock that breaks it into 15 minutes. So we know from 12 to 6 is 1/2. So to split that in half again, we're going to go across, and that's going to give us 3 and 9. So from 12 to 3 is 15 minutes. From 9 to 12 is 15 minutes. So that's where we're going to look at our quarters, because those are 15-minute increments that are past and to. So just like we said, past was on the right side of our clock and to was on the left side of our clock, same thing applies with quarter past and quarter to. It's always going to land on either a 3 or a 9 when you're using quarter as your sentence for telling time. So if I needed to say it was quarter past 3, that would be 3:15, and it would land on the 3. If I needed to say it's quarter to 8, it would lay at the 9. because 7:45 would mean there's 15 minutes before 8 o'clock, and 15 minutes before 8 o'clock is going to be 9, which is 45 minutes. So 7:15 is at 15, 7:45 is at 45. So your minutes for quarters are always going to be 15 or 45. 7:15 is 15, 7:45 is 45. All right, we're going to do some examples on this slide of 7:15 and 7:45. So this first clock shows 2:15. 2:15 is 7:15. 2:15. 2:15. This next clock shows us 9:45. Notice on this clock, this shows us very clearly that the hour hand is getting closer to the 10, but it's not to the 10 yet. Please do not say that this is 10:45. It is just before the 10, which means it is 9:45. Remember, when you're looking at your hours, anything between 9 and 10 is going to be 9. It's not going to be 10 until it gets 10 or past 10. Okay? So 9:45. If 15 was 7:15, 45 is 7:45. So it's 9:45 because it was 9:45, meaning there are 15 minutes before 10 o'clock. So this next one shows us 5:15. So remember that 15 is 7:15. So this is going to be 5:15. 5:15 is 5:15. All right, last one. This last one also shows us an hour that falls between two numbers, and it's very close to the next one. So if it is between 2 and 3, but not quite yet on the 3, it is 2 o'clock. So this is 2, and our 9 is 45. So it is 2:45. And we said that anything with 45 minutes is 7:45. So it's going to be 7:45. Because remember, 7:45 means it is 15 minutes before the next hour. So you have to change your hour when you say 7:45. So again, 2:45 is 2:45. All right, this next part I know is a little bit tricky, so please pay very close attention as I go over this. Elapsed time. We've talked a little bit about elapsed time, but we haven't done a super deep dive, so we're going to go back over it today. Elapsed time is how much time has passed. When we tell elapsed time, we have a start time and an end time. We have to find out how long did that take. Whatever it's asking us for, how long was it? So when we look at elapsed time, we can count time on the clock by counting by 5s and figuring out how much time has passed that way. Or we can use a number line to help us find that answer. So just like it shows down here, they've mapped out their time on a number line. They did 8:15, 9:15, which is an hour. Then they added it by 10 minutes until they got to the end time of 9:35. So their timeline showed that time length from 8:15 to 9:35 was an hour and 20 minutes. If you wanted to count by 5s to find your time, the start time here is 3 o'clock. We have to get to 4:30. So we already know that from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock is 1 hour. And then from 0 to 6 is 30 minutes because we can count by 5s to get to 30. So it's an hour and 30 minutes. All right, we're going to practice these. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to read it. I'm going to give you a minute to answer it, and then I'm going to give you the answer. Emily had soccer practice after school today. The green clock shows what time practice began. The yellow clock shows what time it ended. How much time did Emily spend in soccer practice today? So the very first important thing you need to know, green is when practice began. Practice began at 3 o'clock. Yellow is when practice ended. Practice ended at 6:30. So you need to figure out how much time was she at practice. So 3 o'clock to 6:30. Go ahead. I will give you just a minute and then I will go over the answer. All right, if you need extra time, you can pause this video. We're going to talk about how to find this time. So before we get into the answer, we already can look at it and know that it's going to be hours, not minutes, right? Because the hour changes. So what I would figure out first is how many hours she was at practice. So from 3 o'clock to 6:30, 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock is 3 hours. Then we know from 0 to 30 is 30 minutes. So she spent 3 hours and 30 minutes at soccer practice. Or you could say 3.5 hours at soccer practice. All right, let's do it again. Find the elapsed time. So this is your start. It is 2 o'clock. Your ending time is 2. And now let's count our minutes. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So 2:25. I will give you a minute to figure out how much time passed from 2 o'clock to 2:25. All right, if you need more time, go ahead and pause the video. All right, so from 2 o'clock to 2:25 is 25 minutes. Start time is 2 o'clock. End time is 2:25. Elapsed time is 25 minutes. All right, that is our end of time lesson. So what I want you to do now is to go back into your Google form, your Google assignments, find your Google form called Telling Time Assessment, click on that form, fill out those questions. When you finish those, click submit so I get your answers. Remember, you got this. You can do it. When you are finished, you can go back and click mark as done on that assignment as long as you have submitted the Google form.